welcome back to my channel, Tomcat Stitchery. I'm Whitney, and today I have my final jean making tutorial for you for this month. I hope you guys have enjoyed Jean Making Month for Sew My Style and have found these tutorials helpful if you are in fact tackling your first or your 8th pair of jeans. But today we're going to talk about, I had a lot of questions about seam finishes, so today I'm talking about the flat felled seam. And that is just what, it's usually on the inseam of jeans, but it's that kind of a finish. So it's very clean on the inside and on the outside, and it's a super strong seam, so it's perfect for the inseam of jeans, or in this case, shorts. But I'm talking about that, and also about a couple of the other seam finishes that you may want to use in making your jeans. So as always, please ask any questions you have down below in the comments, and if you like these kind of tutorials, give it a thumbs up, and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We got a lot of fun stuff. Now that Jeans Making Month is wrapping up, we're going to be delving into the rest of the summer modules. We'll be wrapping up my summer module, little capsule, and then delving into some fall sewing. So that's all I have for today, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.
Okay, so let's talk seam finishes. Hopefully I'm working on a pair of white denim here, and so hopefully you can see everything. But this is the back of my shorts, my Dawn shorts. And I have everything, the whole back is constructed. The pockets are on. I already have my rivets on. I find that easier to do than waiting till the end. But this is the back side of them. Now I'm going to show you one very acceptable seam finish. And you could use this on all parts of the jeans, but is a faux flat felt. And what that entails is you sewing your jeans, your seams, right sides together, pressing them one way, or actually finishing, and here I have serged them together, serged both those seam allowances together as one, press them either way, and then I have just top stitched them down, which gives the look of a flat fell seam. Now I'm actually going to do a flat fell seam for you when we get to the inseam of these, which you would do, I do them on jeans as well as shorts, but this is a faux flat fell seam. So it looks like flat fell on the right side and kind of acts like a flat fell. It's maybe not quite as strong, but it's still a pretty strong seam. But right now, I wanted to show you, I had a lot of comments about the mallet, and I wanted to show you how to use the mallet. So this is the center back seam. I have not, I've pressed it, but I haven't top stitched it yet. But we have an intersection here of the two yokes, and then it's sewn together in the center back. Again, I have sewn them right sides together, finished them as one with the serger, and then I have pressed them to the right, which would be the left when worn. I think that's right. I get confused. But in order to top stitch this down, I have a whole lot of bulk right here. So there's a few things that we can do to help reduce bulk in all of our jean making. Number one, obviously, you're going to want to press and give it a lot of good steam. Oh, okay. Sorry, I fogged up my lens. Okay. All right, you're going to use a lot of steam and then a clapper. A clapper is just, now this is a tailor's point and a clapper in one, but it's just wood, and it helps to suck the steam out of the fabric and then to set it. All right, so that's definitely going to help. But now to really get it nice and flat, and I'm only going to do this right here at this intersection, but I use a mallet. And again, I have this wood mallet. You could use a rubber mallet that you get at a hardware store. But the surface that I'm doing this on, this is my pressing surface. I'm sorry, it's filthy. This is actually from making a lot of pairs of jeans. But this is a wooden, a solid wooden kitchen island that I got at IKEA. And then the top has been covered with a layer of batting, and then a layer of like a cotton canvas fabric that clearly needs to be replaced. But because this is a solid wood underneath, I don't have to worry about breaking any of the surfaces. And this is really loud, but this is all you do. I'm sorry if that just broke everyone's ears. Now, if you could feel this right now, it is very flat, and this will now go through my sewing machine like a dream. Okay, so I have now top stitched it. Again, it is super flat in that area, which allows just for a really nice join. I've got my seams that are matching there. And and I was able to top stitch this again, and it really helps sending that through your machine without a lot of bulk. You'll have a lot less broken needles, and this works for the belt loops. Anytime you have a seam intersection, we'll use the mallet again when I'm showing you how to do the flat fell seam, the actual flat fell seam. But yeah, anywhere where you've got a lot of layers that you have to sew through, it will help you do that. All right, so now we're ready to do a flat fell seam. So again, I've showed you the faux flat felled. Sorry about the noise in the background. It is summertime and the Xbox is just on the other side of my studio door. Anyway, and I have teenagers, or almost teenagers. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're going to flat fell the inseam. Again, I'm working on shorts, but this would be the same for jeans. This is the inseam of the front of the pair of pants. So we are going to put them right sides together. Again, if you find that it's really bulky here where the crotch seam meets on either the front or the back, just hit that seam really well with your mallet. But what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna put these seams together, wrong sides together. I actually have this flipped, hold on. Turn those over. Okay, wrong side of the front. And then there's the right side of the back. So we are wrong sides together. So we are going to sew the inseam. Now you can only flat fell the inseam because trying to get into the leg once the outseam is sewn, it's just, I mean, I guess maybe you could do it if you had special equipment, but it's just too hard for normal home sewing machines. So we just flat fell the inseam, which is the one that needs to be the strongest because that's where your legs are going to rub together. So we're just going to sew this seam. We're going to start at one hem and sew all the way, one continuous stitching line, wrong sides together, and then I'll come right back. Okay, so I've got these sewn at 5/8 of an inch, which is my seam allowance, wrong sides together. Here's the front of my pants. So now what you're going to do is you want to know which way that you want this to wrap. I like mine to wrap to the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the front seam allowance just as is, but I'm going to trim the back seam allowance a little less than half of its current width. So, you know, I guess like a quarter, trim it down to like 1/4 of an inch and you should be good. So I'm just going to trim the back seam allowance to 1/4 of an inch. Okay, I'll be right back. All right. Now you can see, we're still working on the right side here. You can see that my back seam allowance is cut much shorter than my front seam allowance. So I'm going to go through, sorry, this doesn't lay very flat. And again, you just be careful when you're doing this step because you don't want to clip into something you're not supposed to. But now we're just going to press our seam allowances all to the back very slowly. So give it a good press. We want everything pressed towards the back. Again, at this intersection, get out your mallet and just hammer away. But I'm going to press that really quickly, and then I'll show you the next step. All right, so everything has been pressed to the back. And again, this is the same for the pants. It actually just lays a little flatter. So now what you're going to do, everything should be pressed nice and flat. You're going to tuck this under, and it kind of just wraps around that bottom seam allowance, but don't worry if your seam allowance that you've trimmed is not even. I mean, this literally will just fold in on itself. You know, it'll only fold to that stitching line. So you're going to fold, and you can do a couple of things here. You can either press this as you go and just, you know, keep tucking that under, press and then pin if you're comfortable with that, if that makes you more comfortable. I, however, just tuck and sew as I go. So what you're going to do is tuck, and then you're going to sew a line of stitching. Focus. Come on. Sew a line of stitching right along that fold. And you're just going to go again from one hem all the way to the other hem. And again, it can get really bulky and weird here at this seam. But I also want you to remember, this is right in the middle of your crotch. No one is going to be looking at your stitching there. So just as long as you're able to get all of the raw edges tucked in nicely there, oops, sorry. All the raw ends tucked in nicely there. Don't worry if your seam allowance, if your stitching gets wonky through that area. No one's going to be looking at that. Hopefully. They shouldn't be. Anyway, so there we go. So now I'm just going to fold that under and I'm going to stitch, and then I'll come back and show you the end result. Okay, now once you have stitched next to that fold, you have a flat felled seam. So you'll see from the front, it looks like you have 2 rows of stitching. This is that original line of stitching that you did when you sewed your 5/8 together, and then this is when you were sewing the seam allowance in over itself. So this is what it looks from the right side. And then from the wrong side, focus, come on camera. Here we go. From the wrong side, you've just got your seam that's there, and then you've got 1 line of stitching. And so this makes a very, very strong seam, which is what you want for the inseam. Yeah. So it keeps it nice and stable. So now, again, that's the inseam, so your pants or shorts or whatever look really funny now. But yeah, now you can just put them right sides together, and you can sew or baste if you're still fitting your out seams together. And I've actually already gone ahead and serged, although these end up getting pressed the same way, because in your jeans instructions you actually top stitch a little bit down, and you top stitch these 2 seam allowances together towards the pocket. No, towards the back, sorry. Towards the back to keep that anchored down. But anyway, that is a flat felled seam. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions down below, and I will try and answer them the best of my ability. Thank you.